Jun will take us into our third game underway here. Now we've seen Kongdu come back from a deficit and close out game number 1. We got to watch the Peanut show as he kind of really piloted the ROX Tigers to victory in game 2. What's coming out here in game 3 now that both teams had a taste of what the other can offer?
Well, it's going to see how they choose to approach it. I feel like the Tigers team composition last pick and ban was very proactive, and it was sculpted off of getting that Nidalee that was given to them, and I don't think that we're going to see Nidalee gifted to either team moving forward.
Certainly not, and maybe it's left open so that now Punch can show us what his Nidalee does, but when you're naming yourself Punch, you'd probably rather see him on that Lee Sin, and should be still a very highly contested pick. Maybe this is where the Tigers accidentally leave up the Lee Sin pick and Kongdu Monster pick it and pull off a show of their own. Now, I wouldn't imagine that would be a very big accident. If it is left open, it'd be deliberate. But with that Nidalee ban coming in from Kongdu Monster, you should be seeing that Lee Sin banned out here at the end.
Yep, that's probably the most expected ban to happen, and off of that, that does leave up the Elise, Rek'Sai, Olaf, Graves that we can expect, and we might just end up having another ditto of an Olaf versus Rek'Sai.
Could definitely be possible. Elise out there. We saw Graves hovered over earlier, but we haven't really seen Graves this tournament at all. Ryza has been banned away from Edge both game 1 and 2, which has kind of been a question mark for us. So we might see that picked very early on. But it looks like Kongdu Monster want to solidify their top lane with a Jace pick there for Roach, which could always be flexed into the mid.
Yeah, it could be flexed onto Edge indeed. With Poppy still being up, I would expect that Smeb would actually select that, because while it is a counter early on during the laning phase, once Poppy gets her first core item, it's basically lights out for Jace.
Well, at this point, we're looking for that Olaf that we thought we would see. Looks like we have some fans in the audience coming all the way over from Kongwan. So very long trip for them. And of course, a lot of global fans joining us here at as well in the Mexico Auditorium. The Karma pickup, we talked about it being flex, but I feel like I've just actually never seen it go mid, or at least it's been much more favored into the support role. Why do you think that's such a heavy priority here for the Tigers?
Well, the Karma offers a lot of things, and it has a lot of synergy with the Olaf. And it does have the ability to be flexed, even though we've never really seen it. So Karma just one of the best supports currently in the game. And now Kongdu Monster's highlighting the Rek'Sai, and so that would be a very similar matchup yet again.
Okay, well that's locked in, as well as Edge's Rise. Now, this is something we haven't gotten a chance to see an incredible amount, but it's been something that the Tigers are afraid enough to ban it out consistently. Well, finally, it gets through, so we'll get a chance to see that. But in response to that, we'll also see what the Tigers have in store for Cry, as he very adept at a great number of champions. Vladimir, of course, the big one that he's been going to, it's banned out, and the big other champion that he fielded yesterday to great effect versus Faker was his Cassiopeia.
Yep. And so we're actually going to get to see him on that Cassio versus Rise again, and he did an impressive job against Faker's Rise. So we're going to get to see what he's going to do against Edge's Rise, and last time Edge actually played this Rise was into Fly's Malzahar, so a very different matchup dynamic.
Yeah, certainly very different players there as well. So Kongdu, final picks coming in here. Now, they've ROX have left their top lane matchup for last, unless that is that the rare top lane Olaf or a tank Karma or something crazy like that. And Kongdu have saved their last 2 picks for the duo lane. So looking to see probably the Jhin, yeah, and that is locked in there for Soul, but Guger getting a Zyra who's kind of fallen off after we've seen the rise of Misfortune.
Yep, and I'm not quite sure that the Zyra is the best choice. Especially because outside of that Olaf, just the amount of range champions and utility that the Tigers have is there. And I feel like Tahm Kench actually would have been a little bit better, even though it would have meant that the Kongdu Monsters would have been at a disadvantage in the laning phase. I feel like it would have rewarded them more later on, but Zyra is still one of the top support picks in the game in this patch.
Very true, and that'll be the final lock-in for the ROX Tigers with a Poppy pick up in the top lane for Smeb. Now, he had a lot of trouble dealing with Roach's Trundle in 1v1s, died a couple of times in that situation, and now Roach has the first picked Jace for Kongdu Monster. Is there anything that really strikes you about these two team comps before we get into the game?
No, I really like the Tigers team composition this time around. I feel like it's a lot more stable and standard. Kongdu Monster's team comp, though, it basically one of the team comps they've been running all this kind of, or this type of tournament where it also is standard, although with a bit more aggression than what we're normally used to seeing out of them.
All right, well, that's going to do it for champion picks and bans here for our two grand finalist teams. Kongdu Monster know what it's like to face the wrath of Peanut, and he'll be back on Olaf. Of course, for this game, they will have the permanently banned away Rise in the mid lane for Edge to show what it can do. They are on your screen. Of course, here are their opponents, the ROX Tigers, who did bring it back. Had a chance to walk over and see a giant smile on Peanut's face. So we'll see if he can make a reprisal this game number 2 roll. Get out there on Twitter, hashtag KeSPA Cup. Of course, cheer for our teams with hashtag KDM win or hashtag ROX win to let them know who you want to come out on top. It's game number 3 and it's here. So let's get into game. Another interesting level 1 to take us into game number 3. Essentially a best of 3 from here on out as Kongdu and Tigers even things up. Once again, grouping up and trying to get a little bit of deep coverage in here into the lower jungle this time.
And Peanut went by himself, maybe to try to entice Edge to actually come a little further forward and then see if they could get anything off that, but Edge not taking the bait. And also, Cry actually taking the cleanse just against Edge's Rise. That's certainly a little bit of a show of respect.
Going for a little bit of poke damage here early on. Landing the Grasping Roots will at least give Gugur a little bit of an extra boost in gold. And starting out for our initial roots around Summoner's Rift. Now, this is a blue side start for Rek'Sai, who has an energy-using jungler, kind of wants to hand off that blue buff. So what do you make about our initial starts on both teams?
Well, definitely Edge is probably going to get the blue buff. I wouldn't be surprised to see Punch do Gromp to Wolves to Red, or Gromp to Wolves to Wraiths to Red, and then eventually make his way back up to hand the blue to Edge. Although we could see Edge recall early off the third wave to get a Tear of the Goddess.
We're down on the bottom half of the map. We'll scout out the attempt at the Krugs, just taking the tiny one. And you can see stats down there on the bottom half of your screen to show what an incredible mismatch this game, or this matchup was the last time that they faced off. Of course, that was a very, very different Kongdu Monster. They still had guys like Hippo in the top lane and Crush in the jungle. Since then, they've changed up a lot. Not only their players, also their coaching staff, which has attributed a lot of their success to Coach MC coming in and really turning this team around. Of course, him giving the credit right back to the players. And you see things looking a little bit more even this time around.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about Gugur on this Zyra is most of his losses, with the exception of the previous game, have actually been just on the Nami, which is a squishy range support champion. Most of his champion pool is actually made up of Alistar, Braum, Tahm Kench, and durable melee support champions. So the Zyra pick definitely outside the norm for his champion pool.
Kind of the same idea with that ranged amount of harass, but no sustain here at all, which has been really big for him to offer from that Nami pick. So have to see how that works out. Now, one thing that we already know how it works out is the Peanut show, and he's deep here in the enemy jungle trying to find out Punch and see if he can take him down. Now, Punch down to half HP will start this red buff. Peanut waiting in the wings will now just be spotted out by this ward as Punch walks away from the red. Peanut should know that he has been scouted out, just delaying this and putting further pressure on the Kongdu jungle.
And Punch falling a little bit behind right there, gonna only take one of the golems that have been left by his bottom lane. Peanut not getting too much out of that. He does actually fall behind some camps and gold.
Got a chance to snipe a shot of the top lane, and somehow Roach is like just not having a great time against Feb. Now, here comes the committal here for Peanut, who will almost get the steal there on the red buff, but with Undertows being channeled, Punch will try to get his way away. A tunnel under the wall. He's out of there, and along with it, Peanut's Ghost.
Yeah, and Smeb somehow is finding ways to actually bully a Jace up there in top lane. Not quite sure exactly what's happening.
You know, I am the play-by-play caster, but just from my, you know, definitely non-expert opinion, it certainly seems like that matchup's supposed to go the other way.
Yeah, it is indeed.
Okay, glad we could put that out there. But now, Cougar hit by an Undertow, Soul very low in the wave pushing in. Smeb might be teleporting down for another gank like we just saw in game number 1. Worked out then. Will we see it work out this time around? Now, Punch is right here for the counter gank. He hasn't shown himself. Peanut waiting to commit, and he will actually get locked down. They're turning on to Peanut. He's only level 3 Olaf, and he goes down to give first blood away to Cougar Zyra.
Yeah, and you know, you could also see that Roach had recalled in anticipation for that dive attempt from the Tigers had they actually committed even harder to it. And that was just really bizarre because Gorilla and Prey should have been able to convey that they weren't going to be able to get the minion wave into turret. So, too forceful.
Oh, okay, well, also too forceful. They're trying to push the wave out, and Kongdu wind up losing not one, but 2 flashes and an ignite from Cougar. So I guess he used that earlier on, but let's watch this dive be countered again.
Yeah, so right here, you can see that Punch had already made his way down to bottom, and by the time they got the minion wave under the turret to start tanking the shots to let Peanut come in and get onto Solar Cougar, it was already too late, and it's interesting to see the fact that the Tigers were still waiting to go for that play, even though it was obvious that Roach had recalled in anticipation for it again. And even if the argument would be to bring down Smeb, it still seems way too forced.
Trying to get Peanut ahead, but it backfires, and that will actually have the opposite effect. So now, I mean, the gold did go on to the support at this point, but that does get an earlier sight stone. Cougar will have that for himself. Might allow the Vision to keep this bottom lane safe, as it has been kind of pressured, let's put it that way. Game 1 got dove extremely hard, didn't survive, and now we're starting to see things change around. So nice to see Kongdu learning from their mistakes, avoiding the dive this time, and coming out on top. And Peanut, a guy we saw very strong in Game 2, now having been countered, we'll see if he can right the Peanut ship and sail onward towards victory.
Down here in the bottom lane now, we are approaching level 6.
Oh, there's the flash. You're going to be tethering up Soul. Exhaust to make sure it lands. He will try to turn things back around, but it's just not enough. Peanut coming right back in as soon as Ghost stops cooldown to pick up a kill to keep the score.
And that is a kill that the Tigers certainly needed, going on to Peanut. And next time Soul returns to bottom lane, and hold that thought as a little bit of a trade happening in mid lane.
Instant cleanse being taken out there by Edge. Cleanse still up there for Cry if Edge wants to try to come back and turn things around. What do you think was behind that Cry just going in? Looking to force the cleanse?
Yeah, I think Cry thought he could maybe trade a little bit harder, and Roach just might die.
He walked forward somewhat uncharacteristically, and he actually is just going to go down to one more auto attack, and Smeb can go for it. He instead goes for the heroic charge to heroically pick up a kill of his own in the now 1v1 that goes his way.
Yeah, Smeb is now angry after the previous game, and we're getting to see that in full force here as he's managing to bully Roach in what should be a hard counter matchup, at least until the first item. And you can just check out this replay right here, and Roach is not expecting it. Smeb with the level advantage, able to take all of this all the way to Roach's turret and secure the kill.
Yeah, actually for a while there, it looked like Roach was positioning aggressively, like he had help coming, but it just never came. There was no one in range, and he winds up going down in the 1v1. So now in the mid lane, we're going to see Edge grounded there for a second. Cry putting on the damage, a flash for flash exchange, but here comes Punch, looking to try to turn this one back around, avoiding that overload coming back his way, and we're going to play a little ring around the rosy here as Edge plays with the danger zone, flirts with it, Punch on the other side. He knows he's got Peanut here. There's a tunnel under. Punch taking a lot of damage of his own, and ROX just dominating, dictating the mid lane.
Yep, ROX are in full control right now, and this is really nice to see. They picked it up in game number 2, and they're continuing to extend that here into game number 3. And I really have to say, though, one of the main points...
Oh, okay, well, Cry just walks up, finds one kill. Now he's looking for a second one. He's got Peanut coming the other direction. He's going to give him the alley-oop and look to hand it off, but a tunnel under the wall will illustrate Olaf's great weakness. All of those Flash Olaf players out there feel really vindicated right now as Peanut gets denied a kill and lets Punch escape. But I hope we get a replay of that, because it certainly seemed like Cry just walked up and killed Edge.
Yep. And before we get a replay of that, it looks like Smeb looking for another kill. Maybe.
Round 2, a decently sized minion wave there to help aid Roach in the trade. Let's take another look at this 1v1.
Yeah, this is just Edge actually staying where he shouldn't be, and he was grounded right there, and the slow just gave too much of an edge to Cry, able to pick up that kill, and they're honestly really lucky not to have lost Punch there as well.
He did escape there. Edge firing back, though, off of a game coming in from Punch, and okay, well, I don't think we'll need a replay of that kill, but this mid lane is kind of wacky way to start things off.
Yep, and Gorilla posted him a little bit. I was about to say that one of the surprising things this series so far, though, had been that Punch did not look as dominant in his jungle routes, and you really just have to attribute that to Peanut. And replay on the screen right there of them getting the kill on the side.
I'm waiting for a chance where we have a replay of a fight, but then also another replay of something elsewhere on the map, so we can have... We heard that you guys liked replays, so we put replays in your replays. That way, I'm just going to throw it over to LS, and maybe he can talk about one, and then I can talk about the other one. We can actually just get to a point where we can cast 2 games at the same time. That's the future. It's not here quite yet. And of course, the series not over. It's tied up 1-1. But after some kind of worrying trends here, is Kangdu really putting themselves into a position to maybe take over?
Well, they are certainly fighting back. The advantage for the Tigers is not as big as it once was, and Edge moving down the bottom here.
Here comes the curtain call. Rise teleporting behind the turret, and there's Punch. Maybe look to tank it. Now minions will at least start this off. Edge dropping aggro there. The damage coming in from Roach off the TP. Prey looking to go down there. He's actually going to flash aggressively into Sol. Edge there with a kill. Punch wide drop here. Looks like with Peanut coming right up on him, the red buff will continue to burn him down and take the kill. Edge will be the next casualty, and it looks like Sol might go down here as well. A perfect turnaround there as ROX Tigers come up and might be looking for more. The dive under the turret. Smeb's pretty high health here, and Guger with not a lot of places to go tries to kite it out, but in the end it's a kill there by Peanut to pick up a 12-minute ace for the ROX Tigers.
Yeah, and that is pretty explosive right now. The Tigers have just propelled themselves to an enormous lead, and we can check this out right here as Punch and Edge setting this up what they probably thought perfectly with Roach coming down from the top. Gorilla went down instantly, but Prey able to live a little bit longer. When Smeb and Peanut showed up, Roach was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and then Cry able to get a flank basically on the Kangdu monsters, and then from right there they were able to finalize all of the kills.
And even Guger trying to come back in and help out his team with no mana, winds up going down to give away the ace. I don't know, this is certainly a big swing for the Tigers, who will also take that first turret blood as well after the team fight, like you guys saw in the picture-in-picture during that replay.
Yep, and a 4,000 gold lead for the Tigers here at 13 minutes. And, I mean, one of the really scary things about this game is the fact that Smeb is so far ahead of his opposition in top lane. And a Poppy is not something that the Kangdu Monsters' team composition is really equipped to deal with if it's this far ahead.
Oh boy, yeah, as much persistent damage as the machine gun kind of Rise style does, when it's into Poppy, I just don't see that really being their answer. And while Smeb has prioritized nothing but armor so far, we'll see if it's enough to, we'll see if it makes a difference. Now Sol, he's in a little bit of trouble. Flashes immediately, but Peanut's going in with the dive. Wisely disengages there as Guger might have turned it back around. Here comes Punch. They might actually have an opportunity to get a big catch in here on the Tigers. Rye is actually teleporting in there, avoids getting stunned out there, and it might be Cry rather as the first casualty. Very, very low HP, sped away there, trying to turn back around for additional damage. Cry lucky to be alive there. It looks like Peanut will fall. One casualty dropping so far for the Tigers, but they will save their mid laner.
Yeah, and you know what? That was a very, very huge play by Peanut, trying to find a way to save both himself and Cry, and they almost did manage to escape at the very end. And they had extended that so long that Prey was able to get quite an advantage actually in the mid lane farm and a lot of damage on the turret. So really big credit to them.
Back to the mid lane turret we go. Bottom lane's been where all of this action's been going down. And it's certainly been exciting to watch a game that's not just, a passive farm fest to 30 minutes. A lot of action and aggression, but this time, KDM turning around.
Yep, and this started pretty bad for the Tigers. They turned it around to some point, but Cry messed up his ultimate right there, not getting the stun onto Edge. You can see that Peanut almost managed to save him with Gorilla coming in for the assistance, but not quite able to get away entirely.
So Edge picking up that kill on a Rise that was strong enough, at least to the Tigers, for them to ban it away in games 1 and 2. Now he's finally got it, and while it might not be the answer to Smeb's 3-0 Poppy, what does this really offer the team that was so valuable for ROX to ban it away now that Edge is finally starting to get the Rise train running?
Well, he's starting to get the Rise train running, but so far it's not really doing as much as they probably would have hoped for. And with Jace being as behind as he is, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him and Punch to really make something happen in the mid game. But Rise's itemization this game, he has the Megatron Cloak and he has the Tear, so he stunted his build path in more ways than one.
Will take a while for him to get back up there, but something is okay. Swing and a miss on the arrow here, but maybe Peanut looking for more. Dodge on the undertow, Soul very low. Smeb coming around the corner. Roach right there to meet him. Here's going to be Rek'Sai coming up to join the party. Smeb going to get locked down just a little bit, and a lot of damage coming in from Roach. An immediate knockback there, so no Rise in this party. But Smeb dropping lower and lower, he will be the first casualty of the fight. It's Conduit to take him down, and here comes the curtain call. Maybe look for more. Looks like they will find some slows in there onto Gorilla. Can Punch chase? Looks like the answer is no. He'll turn around. Peanut might be looking to go back in. Turn around once again, possible. But it doesn't look like anything will come out of it, except right as I say that, Cry coming in from the side. He'll get turned around on almost instantly and pushed right back out. Will expend his ultimate, but no kills off of that. I hesitate to stop and give it over to LS for analysis, because it always seems like they start fighting. They will start up this dragon. But what just happened?
Yeah, it's a never-ending fight, it seems. And while Smeb did go down, no summoners were really lost. They're going to pick up this dragon right now. Not the best dragon for either team, but it is still an advantage nonetheless. And meanwhile, in top lane, Smeb went for a very aggressive teleport play. And
oh, Roach.
Roach is probably going to die. I wouldn't be surprised if Smeb flashes to not let him get the execute from turret.
He's looking for it. I think Roach actually will be able to execute now. He will run all the way, and he does get the execution to turret.
Yep. Yeah, but a little bit of experience, I think, is granted, actually, to both Smeb and Gorilla. I think they were both in experience range. We're just checking out a little replay right there, and Poppy ultimate in response to the Rise ultimate, something that MVP Ed always talks about. And at this point, they tried to find a kill onto Gorilla, but he ends up flashing away, and follow-up bullets end up missing.
They do indeed. Kongdu's continuing, though, even in the face of having been aced earlier on, so early in the game, around 12 minutes. They're coming back, they're putting up a fight, not letting the Tigers get away with anything. You saw maybe Peanut looking for a flank, maybe Smeb looking to come back around from behind. Both denied, and it turns out for a kill onto Smeb. The Tigers are arguably the strongest member at that point. Now, is Smeb getting caught out maybe a little bit again? He does have flash to get over this wall. It looks like he will be forced to use it if he can get there in time. The prediction on the flash, but it's just not enough. I don't really know where Roach was going there. He was maybe trying to get in front to deny the, I don't know, either way. Smeb survives.
Yep, Smeb survives in the end, and bottom lane now might be the rotation for the Tigers as they look to capture that bottom tier 2 turret.
Punch versus Peanut probably won't have anything to come of it as Peanut disengages. Committing the curtain call, though, might be looking to catch out Gorilla. He's dropped lower and lower, and it's a big crit from Soul to take him down.
Yep, and they had the teleport on Roach. Smeb having used that teleport previously to try to get a kill onto Roach, but was unsuccessful.
Bottom lane, though, Tigers looking for a counter of their own with Peanut and Cry poised in the bush. Punch will rock right straight into it. He's grounded for now and won't last much longer. Edge getting hit there by a lot of CC coming his way with a very strong Peanut and Cry underneath the turret. can't put out enough damage to get the counter kill onto Cry, and Tigers find 2 big picks of their own.
Yep. And off of that, they're going to have to back off as Roach is coming down. Oh, but they're looking for it one more time.
Okay. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, and maybe shame on Roach. But he's a little bit faster back to the turret through the acceleration gate. I love these mind games. Always cool to see a little bit of cuteness out there. Of course, any game that has Peanut in it going to have that represented very well. Now, Sol waiting back in base to see what his big pickup is. There's that BS sword, but he's waiting for a little bit more. Curious to see exactly what it will be, but here comes another flank in through the turret. A big arrow hits on to punch, pins him down, but can he make it out alive? He is actually pretty tanky, much like very mobile champions, too tanky to get taken down.
They don't find a kill on him right there, but they do secure the tower. So it is a pickup for the ROX Tigers. 5,000 gold lead almost for them here as we hit the 20-minute mark.
Lots and lots of gold to be picked up. When it does come down to it, we're going to watch this pick once again.
Actually getting stunned in that animation. Really unfortunate for him. And Edge not able to get away as Peanut and Cry just take this all the way underneath his turret and find the kill onto him.
Yep, and finding more and more takedowns. This is like where ROX go into their images folder and they enlarge it as big as they can because they're looking at some pretty big picks.
And at this point, the Morel and Omicron completed, and you have to wonder when is Cry going to finally turn that Spear of the Goddess into the Seraph's Embrace, because that's going to be a very problematic item for Kongdu Monsters to deal with once he has it, because it's going to enable Cry to go so much more aggressive inside of the team.
And really, even with that locket, like you mentioned, preventing more damage from Edge, you have to put the question mark this time on the Rise pick. Was it worth banning out all along? And is it the pick that KDM need? It keeps getting picked out, and that is what made the Rise such a liability for SK Telecom. When Faker played it yesterday, this time around, it might just be that same liability again. Peanut getting chased out, turned back around. A nice dodge by Gugar on the arrow. Will not hit theirs. ROX shove KDM back towards their turret.
These games are turning out to be so bloody right now, and constant aggression. Dragon coming up in a minute though, and the Tigers obviously pulling a lot of attention to the north side of the map, as that does mean that Kongdu Monster is not going to be able to commit a lot of vision control around that Dragon as it looks to come up, and maybe even making it look like they're doing a Baron.
Oh, beautiful blue ward. So happy those things are in the game. Scouting out the Baron bait, but it does expire. That will force Gugar up to try to check it out. Now he risks getting pinned into the wall by Poppy. But I think at this point, Kongdu are aware that there's no Baron going down right now. This is so tense. This is kind of the tipping point of the series. It was a best of 5, now it's a best of 3, and these advantages get closer and closer to securing one of these teams the KeSPA Cup Championship. Okay, Ghosts committed. I thought I heard the ghost. Yeah, there it is. Trying to find this big catch in there onto Edge. Peanut not going to commit the Ragnarok, but I think at this point he and Edge, or Smeb rather, are just so tanky. Where'd he go? It's a magic trick, and Edge makes it out alive.
Yeah, and he managed to ult himself to safety. They will get the red buff, though, away from Kongdu Monsters. That's going to be an Inferno Drake.
Oh, and now maybe a pick here onto Peanut. He will Ragnarok his way out of danger. The boy's getting picked off, but now maybe it's Smeb. He's going to get knocked back in there with a Thundering Blow, and maybe here's the curtain call to take him down. No, Roach there to take the kill, getting revenge for the 1v1 matchup, and a nice pick found once again by Kongdu that might set up this Dragon. Maybe Cry having something to say about it. A big Stranglethorns will at least get the knockup in on a Gorilla. Looks like with a flash away, he's trying to survive. A big crit, and there's the Dancing Grenade to secure the kill for Sol. ROX Tigers trying to turn that one back away, but maybe just looking to save themselves. Peanut very low there, Edge trying to kite out, and he will actually flash for flash. It's Cry though with the outplay. He's the one to find that kill on the Kongdu mid. Now Peanut, Cry very, very low along with the turret they're hiding underneath. Can Kongdu find the picks they need to close this fight out in their favor? Grasping Roots will not land. There is the captive, or the Deadly Flourish that won't find anymore. So ROX disengage, but Kongdu now have an Infernal Drakes in their sight.
Wow, that was such a tense fight that it was looking so bad for the Tigers as it went on and on, but then Try and Peanut managed to turn it around, and Try with some really sick maneuvers at the very end there to get that kill onto Edge, and then him and Peanut managing to get to safety. And at the end of the day, they're going to get the Inferno Drake, which is huge for their team composition.
I got to watch this replay. Those flashes at the very end between Cry and Edge, or Edge actually didn't flash, but Cry to get over the wall. Let's take another look at this fight.
Yeah, so Cry actually just going really hard at Roach and Punch right here, and Cray landing that enchanted crystal arrow. Gorilla almost getting caught up right there, Soul flashing in and managing to find the kill onto him. And you can see Edge with the flank from behind, and him and Peanut are, you know, dancing in the background right there, and Cry with the outplay flash and then grounding punch right at the end. And you can see Soul misread maybe the direction that Peanut and Cry were going to take, and by that point, it was just a little too late as Guger wasn't able to snare either one of them up. Cry with a little bit of a juke right there, and honestly, very impressive Cassiopeia movement.
He showed him yesterday versus Faker, which is kind of the litmus test of your mid lane. Can you stand up to the pressure? And he definitely did turn it right back around on a Faker. And now here versus Edge, continual outplays 5-1. Cassiopeia scoreline. ROX still in the driver's seat, although the gold lead is lessening. Which I say right as Guger gets picked off.
That might certainly be Baron, as they are headed there right now. And without Guger, their only real engagement is a flash Rek'Sai knockup. So they're going to have to concede this. If they try to fight this and it goes wrong, that could spell the end of the game for Kongbu Monsters.
Curtain call in there, trying to ground out the back line, and maybe even just Punch's presence too much. He will tunnel in, and now is there enough damage? No, smite steal for a Punch, and Peanut to secure the Baron takedown. Edge there in the front lines will be taken out there, and one kill after another. The ROX Tigers find their first big advantage.
Yeah, and the Tigers with that Baron buff are probably going to get a lot off it. I would be surprised if they don't. In the meanwhile, though, Roach did manage to pick up a tower for Kongdu. And so we're taking a look at this, and you can notice that everyone actually stopped Baron, but then randomly Punch just goes in, even though there was no damage being inflicted to it, and the Tigers were taking it. And so a little bit of maybe emotions getting the best of him right there, and this is what I was worried about for Kongbu Monsters, where if they commit to trying to prevent this, they had so much to lose.
And lose it they did. At the end of the day, it's a Baron buff there for Tigers. And even though they got that ace early, what I meant by the first big advantage is that now with this, those kills and the Baron buff, they can look to really put a dent in this game with the lead that they have established. Roach in danger, but does not face check the Tri-Brush. Recall goes through Cry, who will complete his third item and put himself in a pretty big lead that Edge is not going to be able to match anymore. Yep. Getting locked down. There's a knock-up. The Rune Prison will lock him down a little bit further. You know, running back away, the Prey Seeker to try to lock him down, and another last-second save on the shield. Gorilla, again, with a nice, ensuring his teammates' survival.
Indeed, and right now, Rylai's Crystal Scepter completed for Cry. Still no completion of that quest item for the Tear of the Goddess, and I mean, I'm actually really surprised that he hasn't completed it, given the fact that they've had an advantage, and the active of that item really helps enabling the forcing of that.
Does at least have his Scepter complete. Very close to his name. Maybe if he puts up a good enough performance with that item on Cassiopeia, we'll call it the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. He's got it built and will help Smeb take down the second tier turret in the bottom lane. And that's really going to even up that second tier that Roach took down there earlier. So Tigers starting to really push home with this Baron advantage. We'll see how much of an advantage they can get off of it. Smeb certainly already on duty in the bottom lane, putting pressure on that first inhibitor turret. The rest of ROX looking to shield up and take their chances here in the mid lane. Now Smeb coming through for a big pick will immediately blow Guger apart. No Zyra passive to add extra true damage here to the fight as now Kongdu look to disengage. It's Roach to get knocked up to immediately force the flash away as the second tier turret mid does fall. The Tigers look to continue to push their advantage even on through to this inhibitor turret. Only Baron buff and powered cannon minion to survive. So plenty of duration here for this Baron buff to allow the ROX Tigers another push in.
And Peanut taunting a little bit, waiting for the
Damping it
minions
up.
to arrive.
Smeb going in, though, through the turret, forcing the rest of Kongdu to disengage there, but Edge can't run far or fast enough. And another great heroic charge, one after another, one by one. The Tigers find more and more kills coming their way. They will break the base. Cry there trying to get a 1v1 here onto Guger. He'll get knocked up there by the Strangle Thorns and also empower those Zyra plants. This is a little bit of a closer fight than I initially thought it would be, but Cry doesn't have too many problems there. Guger trying to just desperately get back onto the fountain, but a big bully Cry will make him at the end of it all. That's going to be the ace for the ROX Tigers, who pushed through their first inhibitor of the game and might commit to the win here. Long death timers will mean that they will go for it. Of course, Smeb's teleport will allow him to render these minions invincible if he wants to go for it.
Not quite sure what just happened. At the very, very least, they could have captured one Nexus turret, which is actually pretty big because then that means that you can't just neglect the mid lane inhibitor from being down, as the turrets will not raise it. But at this point, Smeb coming in here, there is no Guger present in this fight, so they don't have that Zyra disengage if they do need it. And you can just see the damage coming out from Cry and Prey, and the endless amount of slows coming out from the arrows and the undertows from Peanut, in addition to the grounded from Cry. It's too much for Kongdu monsters to deal with right now.
Actually just insane. Look how hard they go in these team fights, just finding one pick after another, and Kongdu, like you said, just can't run far or fast enough away. Another 6,000 gold advantage there for the Tigers, who find a 10,000 gold, over a 10,000 gold advantage here. Just cresting that at the 30-minute mark. Now looking for their third dragon of the game, will take down their second Ocean Drake to allow the next spawn of the Elder. On the bottom half of the map there, Smeb positioning very far forward. Would be a big pick if Kongdu can find it. A last-second stoppage on that recall will mean that Edge will be a slower back to base. Will it be impactful here, as that arrow will not be available for ROX to use to push through?
Well, this might actually be a very funky timing where it does enable them away in. And now that's going to be the second inhibitor of Kongdu monsters falling here. Kongdu, they're in no position to try to turn a fight. They just have to sort of find a way to resist this.
Going forward, finding a knock up there on Edge. The turnaround, though, could be Kongdu's opportunity. Curtain calls coming out and trying to stop a few of the members of ROX from disengaging, but it looks like they're going back in. A point blank stun there on ROX. He'll be the first to fall there for Kongdu. The ROX Tigers continuing now to pile in, and this looks all too similar to the last fight. They find one kill after another. Punch trying to get back onto the fountain. He will just barely make it. The turnaround now, Kongdu trying to push the ROX Tigers back off of their fountain. Now it's going to go back the other way. The Tigers find a big pick there onto Roach. He's going down. The arrow just barely off cooldown, and time to find yet another. It's an ace in the base for the ROX Tigers, as they will now close things out, taking down both Nexus turrets, all 5 members of the Kongdu Monsters, and taking a 26-11 victory in game number 3.